My first question is, where are we?
We are at Yayumnuts, an archaeological site in the Cowichan Valley, right along the banks of Somenos Creek, on the cusp of the Timbercrest Estates suburban development.
It's really interesting to me that you bring up the name of the development, because I know that you know the story behind it.
Yes. In fact, in the 90s, many people didn't know the Halkomitnam name for this place and called this either the Timbercrest site or the Somenos Creek site. And they called it the Timbercrest site because the site was discovered when the developer had bought an old farm that had been here for 100 years, and he was building out a subdivision going from east to west across the big parcel that he had bought, big 100-acre parcel. And when he got down towards Somenos Creek, where the last part of the subdivision was going to come out, they disturbed some human remains, and an ancestor presented itself to a medical doctor who happened to be walking by one day on a local hiking trail. And the medical doctor called the RCMP, was concerned what he had found. RCMP said it wasn't a forensic concern, so they called the archaeologist. And when the archaeologists came, they suggested that this was in fact an ancient person that had been buried here many thousands of years ago, and that triggered the ongoing archaeological project that happened here after that.
That's a great build into my next question, which is, how did you come to know this place?
So when the first archaeologists showed up after the developer had originally disturbed the remains, the original archaeologist suggested that this might be an isolated find and that there was maybe nothing more too important to look here. And so Cowichan Tribes was concerned that they wanted a second opinion. And so at the time I was a graduate student at UBC, and I was part of a small team of researchers that were hired to come and provide an opinion on the site and to assess the significance and way that the development could proceed and be mitigated by the removal of any incidental archaeological finds that were here. So we showed up in the summer of 1994 to do some excavations, and we realized that this wasn't an incidental find at all. It was actually a major archaeological site with several different components to it that had been occupied for several thousand years. We worked at that site through the summer into the fall of 1994, exposing more and more of the incredible history that was here of a settlement, and then a cemetery, and then a place where people visited from time to time. And eventually those excavations, the Cowichan people asked to be stopped because of how many ancestral remains were being uncovered at the site. So my relationship with this place carried on in the 2000s when I was a negotiator at the treaty table, and we were bringing up area for land selection for the treaty table and what areas might be suitable for inclusion in a treaty offer by the government. And we always suggested that Yayumnuts was a straightforward, easy choice for the Cowichan people, the Halkomitnam people, because of this ancestral relationship. But at the time it was private land, and private land is off the table in treaty negotiations, and so there was no way for government to find a solution that...
Private land belonging to the Timbercrest development.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I had that relationship with this place over a number of years, and then I came back to it after the site was finally purchased by the government off the developer and protected for its ecological values. Cowichan invited me back to participate in a project to commemorate this site with our graduate students from UVic. Over a period of a number of years here, we've been working with Cowichan to make resources for the community and for children in the community in particular, so they could learn something about the incredible history.
It's a beautiful full circle moment for me, like you having started your relationship with this place in your graduate studies, me, even though living nearby, starting my relationship with my graduate studies. Does it feel surreal for you being a teacher and mentoring the graduate students now?
Well, it feels really right, and I have to say that this place, every time I come here, I still, it never ceases to amaze me and fascinate me and teach me things. And when I was asked to teach the new graduate seminar on the idea of place and space and knowledge and power, I thought to myself that there's no way that I could actually teach the students about place by just reading articles. I had to ask you guys to come with me here and walk with me in this place and listen to people talking about this place and experience this place and let this place affect you, so that the place could teach you the kinds of things that it's taught me, that its richness could be shared. And I honestly think it's pedagogically the only way we can do a really theoretical, deep understanding of these notions of place, not by reading philosophical articles in isolation, but by actually coming and getting to know a place like we are here.
And I'm hoping that whoever listens to this will get to have just a snapshot of the experience we're having right now as we walk through this, with this intergenerational, cyclical, community, place-based learning, where it's about being in a place together and sharing our experiences of being in the same place over time.
And the beauty of what we're doing in that kind of intergenerational sense, in that community building sense, is that Couch and Tribes has asked us not only as a sort of a university exercise, but most importantly for children in the community. So there are 3 schools in walking distance, just an elementary school and a high school just on that side of the creek, and another elementary school just up the hill in this development. And so those kids can walk here easily from their class and come experience this place with their teacher when they're 10 years old and 14 years old and 17 years old, and get something out of it, out of learning about place and learning about the stories and the teachings that can be had if you open yourself up to them when you're here at AAM Nuts. And so we're helping to put resources in the community's hands to facilitate those conversations, so this kind of very special place-based learning can be spread throughout the community. Which I think is great, that our graduate students are not only bringing their knowledge for their own personal use, but also for the use of the children in the community.
So you've been coming back here for years and years. So I just wonder what you take away each time you come here. You must take away something new because you keep coming back. So what things are staying with you when you leave?
That's a great question. I think one of the things that always strikes me is really how I guess the ancestors here have the people who lived here and have carried out their lives here and brought their loved ones back and buried them here. And their voice is very present and around us in the community, and they're heard in different ways. Or they're ignored, or they're marginalized, depending on who's experiencing them. But they never go away. They're never subverted and completely ignored. And I just think that's amazing that we can attend to the people who continually to be here through the force of this ancestral presence that's here. So I'm always open to that, but also just open to the way this place can help us think about colonialism and think about living together and trying to find those moments of not being in a colonial relationship to each other and to the land and to the ancestors all the time. And I think that in a place like the Cowichan Valley, places like Ladysmith or Victoria, where pretty well everything is predicated on those colonial experiences, and we don't have those opportunities every day in our kind of like little small moments in our lives to bring those to our attention. This place does that. It calls to that. It causes us to reflect. It causes me to reflect. And then especially when I come here and I walk with people, I walk with people from school teachers or elders or students or community members, politicians, bureaucrats, they all encountered that issue of colonialism when they get here, and it's hard to get away from it. And the ancestors are what's are teaching us how to deal with that. And then we're trying to orient ourselves in a way that we don't have to be in a colonial relation to them and to the future. So the place just keeps on asking us to think about what kind of future we want to be in together, right? So
that beautiful connection between the past that we have and the future that we want.
And I think those futures have to be quite consciously built. I think that we can't just fall into our same old patterns over and over again. And so I think that the incredible invitation that Couch and Tribes and School District 79 have given us at UVic to participate in this discussion about, well, what, the future generation of children, how will they think about the land differently? Not only this particular place, but the territory that we live in, through the kinds of ways that we're helping point out different knowledges and histories and ways of being, when we just come to a simple place like Yamnuts and we carry ourselves in a way that the Yamnuts requires us to. And I think that those future possibilities are really rich. I think we're really doing social engineering here through changing what the basic knowledge of future generations will have as they having come out of experiencing a place like this.